are very proud to present the Metastage team, which has not been done before. I typically see my friend Christina at a lot of the events in Hollywood, but we seldom get to see all of these different members from the team who bring in so many different talents to the process of creating some of the best, if not the best, volumetric capture holographic people and animals and stuff on the planet. And we'll learn more about that today. Christina, I want to give you the opportunity to make your own introduction.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Karam, and the entire group at VRTO. It's such a pleasure to be here. And, you know, I'm not just saying it when I say that VRTO is always an extremely interesting conference and always really ahead of the curve. And it is such a special treat to be here with the team today. You know, if this was a physical in-person conference, it would be impossible to bring almost the entire key staff, because who would run the stage? But given that we're doing this all in hubs and virtually this year, this is certainly a first for me, bringing the whole production staff to talk with you today. And like I said, we'll stay as long as we can and answer as many questions as we can. So to kick it off, we brought a quick intro to Metastage. You know, because what we do is such a visual medium, it always helps to see it rather than just hear about it. So we'll start the video and then we'll take it from there.
Immersive media takes digital content and puts it in a three-dimensional space. So it's taking what you like about your digital world and breaking it completely free from the frame. It's really exciting. In the past few years, we've spent a lot of time figuring out how to make content instead of just getting to make it. Every time we would try to do something, it was like a science project. And so creators were constantly having to think about the tech instead of the content. That is the mission of Metastage, to make immersive content creation easy and reliable. And we're starting this journey with the Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture Studios.
Volumetric video is the idea of capturing a person from an array of cameras around them, and then creating a 3D model that's animated with that character that captures every nuance of their performance, but it can be seen and walked around and moved in on from any different direction.
From there, we process the data to create a high-fidelity, three-dimensional video compressed into a streamable file.
The processing is key, because getting a clean capture is a feat, but a lot of people can do that. Processing those files into a high-quality asset that can give somebody a face-to-face experience, but also use that same asset to stream on a mobile device, that is what makes the Microsoft system the best in the market.
So when we were creating the Blade Runner 2049 experience, we knew we had to have legitimate, authentic human performances. At first, we were terrified at the complexity of putting all this into an in-home app. In the end, it turned out to be very simple. The first day that we did the shoot, we got the results back. We looked at them in our environment. The developers, the engineers, everybody were just kind of blown away by what it was like to actually have a human performance face-to-face for the first time in an immersive media. That human presence brings authenticity to these environments and to the stories that we want to tell and the content that we want to create.
Any situation where you need to feel the presence of a performance, whether that's an actor, a musician, or even a training instructor, that's where this technology excels.
When I tell people that my company makes holograms, I sometimes have to pinch myself because it's just so cool. People are beautiful. It's time we put them in immersive experiences that way.
Okay, great. So as I said in that video, processing is key. And as a result, we are down one of our key core team members today, Joel Jones-Marino, because he actually had to crank through some deliverables and process them for deadlines. But you do have the rest of the staff here. And I do think it's one of the kind of amazing things about Metastage and also, you know, the volumetric system is that you don't need an enormous team to run this pipeline. You know, as far as our day-to-day staff, there are 6 of us. And so I will let everybody introduce themselves. I'll start. I'm Christina Heller. I'm the CEO of Metastage. My roles and responsibilities are myriad. You know, I'm both kind of in charge of making sure that the day-to-day operations are moving smoothly and that the company is, you know, meeting our clients' expectations and delivering a high-quality product and also keeping, the long-term vision of the company in mind, and making sure that we, are able to grow and excel as the technology and the space and market develops. So that's me, and I'll pass it on. Skylar, if you want to go next.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here. I'm Skylar Sweetman. I'm the production manager here at Metastage. Basically, my role with the team and with our clients is to be a guiding light for all of our clients entering productions for the first time, for the second, third, or fourth times, and just to make sure that all of the details of their creative can be achieved with our technology. There's a lot that goes into volumetric capture, as we'll kind of show you with this presentation. And so, kind of every single detail needs to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb. And yeah, that's my main groove here. So with that, I'll pass it on to Adam.
Hello, everybody. Yes, thanks for having us. My name is Adam. I'm the volumetric capture technician at Metastage. So my job is to operate the capture hardware, the cameras, and the capture software, and ultimately deliver final assets to our clients. So I can pass it to Jake.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jake. I am a technical assistant here at Metastage, so I lend a hand on many aspects of the capture process, from pre-production all the way through post-production and delivery.
I'll also chime in and say that Jake has been instrumental in our Metastage library that we've been developing, and we're going to talk more to that later. Thanks, Jake. We're also here with Leo Vizzali. He's our account director at Metastage, and if Skylar's my right hand, then Leo's my left hand, and he helps manage all of the accounts before we officially move into production. So helping new clients and prospective clients with when they're still evaluating their process, he helps make the bids, he helps make the contracts, he basically holds your hand all the way up to the production day, and is here to answer any questions along with me that you might have before you are officially engaging with us as a company. Again, it's so wonderful to be here. If we want to move into the presentation, we can kick that off. So here's a shot of Metastage. You might be familiar with this image. This has been one of our signature images since we launched. Here you can see we have 106 cameras encircling a performer like a globe facing inward. And 53 of those cameras are RGB cameras, and they capture the textural and visual data. And the other 53 are infrared cameras that shoot out a bunch of points and create the volume of the hologram, create the space. And you can see we have a limited volume from which to work in. It's probably one of the biggest creative kind of limitations that you need to keep in mind when you're doing a volumetric project. All of our towers with the cameras on them are on tracks in the ground, and they can roll in and out. So depending on how much detail you're trying to get in your capture, we can roll those cameras in. The closer they become to the subject, the more detail you get. But then also you have less range of motion on the stage to move around in. So the maximum volume on the stage is 10 feet. That's with our cameras rolled all the way out. That is the least you'll get. It's still a good quality, but it's obviously not as good as when they're rolled in. You can roll them in as close as 4.5 feet. And then you actually lose a bit of the legs. It will only capture from the thighs upward, but you get an intense amount of detail at that point. Our favorite volume is 6.5 feet, because you still get a full body capture. You can still move around, but you just get that extra detail in the face and in the eyes, and it really does make a huge difference. We also have the stage surrounded by airy sky panels. You can see that. I think, Adam, am I correct? There's 16 of them. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So we have 16 sky panels, and they have the full color spectrum. So we can do dynamic lighting, stage lighting. And we do recommend that if you're looking to do dynamic and stage lighting on these assets, building it in practically to your captures is always going to get the best result. You can do some relighting in game engine, but it's not going to have quite the naturalness as if you do it live on stage. And then we also have 8 shotgun mics that surround the performer and allow audio to get captured from every direction. And we actually have a system that allows us not to have to use lavaliers, which is really key, because if you're capturing somebody from every possible angle, you obviously will be able to see the mic pack if they're wearing a tight outfit. So the fact that we can run audio capture without labs is a really key thing, and has actually come in really handy now that we've moved into our COVID protocol, because it doesn't require an audio technician to get up very close to the performer. They don't have to put it on them. I guess that's it. So we can go to the next slide.
Okay, so again, this is Adam. I'm the volumetric capture technician. I'm just going to jump in here. Volumetric capture requires the performer or the performers only to be on the stage during recording. So we can't have the director in the background, for example. So to avoid capture interference, we have our director station, which is pictured here, set up just behind the stage curtains and next to the capture station, which is where I'm located on shoot days. Here, the director will monitor the stage from a live camera feed and give out commands or suggestions for the performers. During our rehearsals for a take, the Metastage team advises the director on things to keep an eye out for, things that may not capture very well, or things that we suggest to ensure that the capture is going to be as clean as possible. So the rest of the clients and production staff are kind of spread about the stage and observing from other monitors that we have set up nearby. And like Christina was saying, this setup worked really well for us pre-COVID-19 and has translated seamlessly into the current COVID-19 climate as well, because it provides ample space for all of us to stay away from one another and keep the performers only on the stage, while also kind of maintaining a camaraderie amongst the whole production staff. So I communicate with the director often throughout the shoot, just checking in on which takes they're happy with or didn't like. And we, like I said, provide feedback in between takes, with the goal being to get like a couple takes that the director feels really happy with and that we're confident will come out beautifully in volumetric. Next slide.
We thought it would be fun to include this slide that shows our new COVID-19 production protocol. As you can see, we have a number of people tuning in over Zoom. We now limit the people physically on stage to as few people as possible. So that is only essential Metastage personnel and essential creative personnel from the creative and talent personnel. So yes, we limit the amount of people on stage to only the essential personnel. That means both from the talent side, the creative client side, and even the Metastage personnel. So you'll see that on a typical shoot now, I'm actually tuning in over Zoom. That's me up in the upper left corner. We have a Zoom camera both on stage and off stage, so that parties now from around the world can chime in on creative and notes and give feedback on the performance. And it's actually worked really well. We've run a number of productions this way. And in some ways, it actually enables us to work with people more easily from around the globe. And as Adam mentioned, we're really lucky. The fact that volumetric capture is, you're kind of protected by the stage. And so for the time being, we're limiting captures to one at a time. Usually we can do up to 3 people in the volume at the same time. But again, we're trying to be as safe as possible for ourselves and for our clients. Next slide.
Cool. So hey guys, Skylar here. As you saw in our video, we are utilizing the Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture Studios tech stack. And the magic of this tech stack in particular is that it can take all 106 of the cameras that are on stage and process all of that data and make an ultimately a really compressed, small, manageable file in the end that's an exact representation of what we captured on stage. And with that small, easily manageable file comes easy plugins for Unity, plugins for Unreal, and then also, additional support for ARKit, ARCore, and all of that good stuff. Each of the 106 cameras, as Christina mentioned, half of them are regular color sensors, RGB sensors, and then half of them are infrared sensors. And each camera works in stereo with another one, so stereo pairs facing the center of the capture circle. We shoot a lot of data, as you can imagine, with all 106 cameras. It ends up being about 10 gigabytes of data per second. But what's really special again about this is that with the Microsoft proprietary system, we can take all of that data, compress it, and even remotely, do all of this workflow remotely, which has been a really, kind of a saving grace for us during COVID. That production can happen despite, having initially large amounts of data at the end. It's really easy to work with it. And the final, let's see, once we get all of the capture data inside of our processing servers, we'll generate point cloud data. We shoot at 30 frames per second, so it'll be, it's basically every frame is a point cloud, and it goes through a process of temporal smoothing. A mesh is interpolated from those point clouds, and the final asset will be a watertight mesh of the one person up to 3 people. Sometimes if we're out all the way at 10 feet, even more people. Asset output can vary from 20,000 polygons, polygon meshes with 2K textures, so we can go smaller if it's a streaming AR activation, and basically tailor it to whatever you need for your final integration. And I think that is everything. I would say one thing, because it's mesh data, it tends to be a lot more easy to work it into a game engine pipeline. You don't have to have any special, you don't even really need a special processor to, handle huge, large point cloud files. It's a really simple and easy workflow, and we're trying to make it, as easy for everyone to access as possible. So next slide, please.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, sorry for the last minute flying here. My name is Leo Vetzali. I missed the introductions. I'm the account director at Metastage. So I have the good fortune of not only working with our internal team, but also going out and dealing with our initial client contact and trying to scope out the projects to make them reality. So it's very exciting for us. In terms of the current delivery hardware, right now, what's interesting about our volumetric assets is that they're very extensible and they can be used across a variety of platforms. So starting with the first phone here, we actually have a lot of our work being deployed for mobile AR. I would think that that's probably the largest proportion at this point. So within an app container, a lot of our clients are delivering specific deployments for their clients. We also have been doing a lot in the web AR space. So without an app container, it's great because you can do a lot of like brand tie-ins. You can do call to actions that drive traffic into apps or into websites or into specific presentations. But the next phase is getting more AR glasses integration. So doing deployments to Magic Leap. We've seen a lot of great work recently in Magic Leap. And obviously HoloLens is a great fit for our specific technology, and we're seeing a lot of really fantastic enterprise work being developed for the HoloLens. But kind of a late joiner here is Unreal, and we've seen some really interesting work and experiments that have been happening in Unreal right now. So I'm excited to see where that goes in the coming year. Our assets also work well within VR environments. Anything that's pretty much game engine ready is a great use case for our assets. So doing deployments, via either Unreal or Unity for Oculus, the Vive, and the various and sundry other devices that are out there. And then 3D displays kind of represent the future of what's really exciting for location-based experiences that don't require a headset. So we're really excited about those. Obviously, we're still in the early phases, but some of the tech that's coming out now is really inspiring, and we hope to actually see a much greater development. And then obviously down the road, we're, as with everyone else, looking at the future of more integrated glass technology that can be accessible on the consumer level, so that it will proliferate more into the broader public. But we're really excited about where we exist within the ecosystem and the future of AR and volumetric video more broadly. Next slide.
This is actually from our very first project that we did after launching, and you can see the fidelity in our assets with this particular video. The project was by Springbok Entertainment. It's called the 100%. It was a really beautiful piece that was actually a full VR integration.
You might have noticed at the front of the lobby, we did include some of our OBJs up at the front, and they look like cool mannequins. So you are welcome to go explore the entryway and see what some of the OBJs from our projects look like. And I think this is this is definitely the first time we've ever integrated them into Hubs. So I think that's just super cool that we're able to do that. And if after this, if you want to look at some great demos of the Metastage captures, please feel free to download the Metastage app in both the Android and Apple Store. It's totally free to download and has a lot of great demo material on that. Sorry, Skylar. Next slide. So the app is the Metastage app. So it's pretty straightforward. I thought there was a question from Misha with the app name. It's Metastage, and yet, like I said, it's for free and downloadable in the App Store, both iOS and Android. Another app I will do a shout out to that's also free and great to download is Jadu, Jadu. Right now, it's only available in the iOS Apple Store. But it's an amazing platform for music holograms, and all of the holograms were captured at Metastage. You can make really fun user-generated content with these holograms and then publish directly to TikTok and Instagram. It's been a big success so far, and we are truly excited about the future of Jadu. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about our production services. We've been around since August of 2018, and in that time, we've done 70 commercial projects, believe it or not. We've had over 600 tours of Metastage. Our projects have been nominated for 2 Emmys, have won 3 Telly Awards, and we've had the pleasure of working with some of the world's biggest companies and a number of celebrity captures. Our production services pipeline is just something we're really excited about. And I think that, our goal is to make it feel as seamless, professional, and fun as possible. I think that, a few years ago when you would go into a volumetric capture facility, it could feel a little like you were going into a science project or an R&D lab. When Metastage launched, we wanted to usher in a new era for volumetric video that felt commercial and felt as professional as any, set that you might come to in Hollywood. And so, our goal is to demystify this process, to create a very reliable, experience from beginning to end, and make it hopefully fun and easy for our clients so that they can feel comfortable building it into their pipelines. And I think we've been successful with that. We have a number of repeat clients that we've done a ton of jobs with, and what's been really exciting has been seeing the projects go from, proof of concepts and one-offs when we first started to now full-fledged AR series that we'll probably see their debuts, start seeing their debuts this fall. Next slide.
Hey everyone, so this is Jake. I'm going to be talking about our Metastage performance library. So this is something that we've been working on for the past couple years, and we finally launched it back in March. And this is a collection of over 400 different volumetric captures of actors just coming in and doing like everyday actions. So we have like people walking and talking and sitting and standing. But the purpose of these captures is to get volumetric captures, volumetric assets in the hands of as many people as possible to make volumetric performances more, I guess, widespread and more accessible and affordable for many people. We've had people buy these assets. They're available on the Unity store, and we're also going to be getting them on the Unreal store here pretty soon. But we've had people from Europe and people from Asia and people in Russia, just all over, being able to download these assets and put them into any projects that they want. And so it really lowers the barrier for people who aren't located near us, and for people who don't have funds to do a full-scale volumetric production. So the Metastage Performance Library is it's really one of a kind. We have like 20 unique actors, again, like 400 different captures, and those 4 models that you can see at the front of the amphitheater, those are all from our performance library. So if you want to, you can go check it out on the Unity store. We do have a free download, and check out just easy drag and drop, ready to go into any Unity project.
So if you guys want to reach out to us, please do. Check out our social media. On Instagram, it's at Metastage, and on Twitter at MetastageXR. You can always reach out to team@metastage.com. It's really like Leo and Christina and I look at those emails every day, so they're really coming to us. And it's really been a pleasure to share with you guys what we do and how our hopefully show you, how volumetric capture data can be a part of your project, a part of your virtual production pipeline. And yeah, I think now I'll hand it back to Christina. I think if we have questions and things like that.
Yeah. Well, now let's open up the forum to you guys. What are you interested in knowing?
The technology is very impressive. Like I've shown a lot of VR demos in my time, and this was very compelling because it was realistic, it was smooth, it's just a very impressive tech demo.
Yes, I agree. I mean, that for me. When we started this endeavor, I didn't want to. I wasn't interested in commercializing a piece, a technology that wasn't truly ready for prime time. And why I consider the Microsoft system so sophisticated and why we're able to offer it so confidently as a product is that you both get extremely high quality captures that really maintain the fidelity of whatever captured on stage. And then also it's the file sizes. Those assets you see in the lobby are only 2 megabytes. Now, granted, they're still. The fact is, it's nice if you can get a good clean capture, but if it's an enormous file size, how are you possibly gonna distribute that commercially? So the fact that we can get that the system is able to compress them to the sizes, but also maintain that fidelity is just, frankly, a testament to the hard work of the Microsoft team.
Right. And just to piggyback on that, like, it's really been our mission at Metastage to make all of that amazing technology available and pretty much like ready for production for any kind of creative or production team. So, you can come on our stage. We do a lot of prep beforehand, but it's, we've got our lighting set up. It's ready to go. Production can happen remotely. And we just want to, it's really our goal to just make it available for anyone who has an immersive project they want to work on.
I have a question. I know that it's not just in the capture, but it's in the in the processing that is the secret sauce. So what have you learned in these years that you've been doing this that really without giving up the secret ingredients, but what is it that you've learned about this process of optimization, and that really gives you that standout look?
Well, I'm going to pass that to Adam. Like I said, our processing supervisor, Joel, is doing his job right now. But Adam and Jake, you are up to your ears in QC and processing. So why don't you let them know like about your process and what, some of the best practices?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, obviously the Microsoft tech stack is really impressive, and that's, the secret sauce is what brings it all together. But both Jake and myself are sort of the QCers, the quality control engineers, if you will, of every take that that a client has requested for delivery. So basically, we take a look at practically every frame, and we analyze what techniques would help to smooth things out. Basically provide Joel, our processing supervisor, with information on if there's a particular frame range that is perhaps not tracking very well. We'll make note of that for him. We work on color correction as well, and we create these LUTs that we can apply to the entire capture to, perhaps brighten it up a little bit, or maybe make the color pop a little bit more. So a lot of those things, it's a manual process, if you will. Jake and I have to just analyze the shot, rotate around the capture, check the feet, check the hands, look at their face. So we watch these things many, many times, and oftentimes go frame by frame to try to make it look as good as we possibly can. Jake, is there anything else that you'd want to add there?
Yeah, I'd say it's just all about communication between us and between Joel processing team. Just to say, like, there's this wrong with the capture. Maybe like at one point the hand disappears or the face sort of like starts to mesh together. So it's all just about communication. Fixing that, or if there's something else wrong, trying to communicate that in the best and most succinct way possible, just so we can get that addressed and make it look as clean as possible.
I was just going to say, I think one of the kind of differentiating factors too is that we really pride ourselves on the pre-production and the consultations in advance, so that we make sure that we're completely aligned with our clients' needs and set expectations correctly. And a lot of it has to do with testing, at the front end to understand what's possible, and very communicating not only internally but also externally with the clients, so that we're true collaborators in that sense. And then obviously, with when it comes down to the delivery, it's really that attention to detail, and our team is really exceptional in that regard. Really identifying issues that start to creep in, and we kind of get ourselves together and get on the same page with the client to make sure that we have a solution that everyone is comfortable with, and then we advance the issue, right? So it's all about the deep collaboration. That's all I wanted to add, Christina.
Misha's got a question. It says, can it scan different layers of clothes, or do you have to add clothes on top of the model post?
So, basically whatever we're capturing on stage is the final 3D asset. And so that in some ways is amazing, because if you compare it to like a motion capture process where, the actor has to put on a point suit, and it can, at our stage, you go out in, whatever you're wearing, and we say action, we say cut, and it can be as simple as that. But it's not, so it's just an authentic 3D capture of whatever you happen to be wearing on the day. So if you happen to be wearing some layers, and those layers are, visible, they will be visible in the final asset. But it isn't something where, we have somebody go out in, let's say like a nude bodysuit and then put clothing on them afterwards. Although we are experimenting with some people on those kinds of ideas right now, seeing if that's possible. In its sort of purest state, it's really meant to be, you know, a truly 3D video asset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Also, you once told me a story, Christina, about a company that came in that we shall not name, who expected to just kind of do video, you know, that they were in there, they were going to do their action or whatever. And you had to explain to them, you have to think differently when you're doing Volcap. There's certain things that work, there's certain things that don't. Can you talk a little bit about that from just a performance side, how to think about making things that will work better?
Yeah, and I'll actually pass this to Skylar. She, as our production manager, doing consult on this exact issue is a lot of her day to day.
Yeah, it's really a lot of show and tell. I think what's really exciting about working in this medium is that once the creatives we're working with really start to understand the fact that we're capturing from every single angle and still maintaining every nuance of the performance, and that viewers are able to watch these performances as if, you know, the figure is really there with them, then all of these new ideas start to come about, and they think like, oh my God, what if it's like theater in the round? Or like, what if there's an interaction with something that comes from here and then that thing disappears and suddenly they're transported into a new place? So it's really cool to see, like, to just be a part of that creative process. And, you know, sometimes it's challenging. That, like Leo said, there's a lot of pre-production work, fine-tooth comb detail, you know, review of costumes and hair and makeup and certain actions, interactions between multiple people. But I think what's also been really interesting about working with this technology that, you know, up until commercialization with Metastage, another partner in London, hadn't really seen a whole huge diversity of creative concepts and integrations. And so, you know, Christina mentioned the company Jadu. The CEO, the founder of that company, and the director of all of the creative experiences in that company is really adventurous in the kinds of creative decisions he makes. You know, he works with known artists and public figures, and makes holographic content of those people that are available for any viewer to use and make their own content with an AR. And he tends to do things, you know, make sacrifices in, let's say, the general quality of a capture. Like, he'll record an artist singing with her signature feather boa. Even if he knows there might be a little noise in that, he always says, like, there's a lot of beauty in this technology.
Yeah, and a couple little details I would say that, if, you know, some things to be aware of, you know, hair, you know, anything that's too thin, the system has trouble recognizing the geometry of that item. And so hair, like, we can't do hair down very easily. We do have some solutions for hair down. If the hair is long enough, we can put it behind the shoulders, and make it like basically into a geometric shape. We're big fans of, for women or men with long hair, you know, braids, buns, ponytails, things like that. Even ponytails we have to be careful with. So, and then also, like, dangling earrings are a no, because the system won't recognize the geometry of the dangling earrings. It will start globbing those earrings, like, to the neck and the face. And for that same reason, we have to be strict about no stiletto heels. The stiletto heels will actually just vanish, and it'll look like you're kind of floating in air. So you know, if you're in the process of doing creative on a Volcap project, that is just something to keep in mind. I would say that more often than not, that's our biggest challenge with directors that are used to working in traditional 2D framed media, is as they want, you know, fabulous, you know, wind-blown hair, and we have to tell them that that's going to look really terrible, and particularly around the face, which is an area of focus. So just something to keep in mind.
Can you talk a little bit about the texture channels that you support? I know you have diffuse, but can you do things like normal maps or other kind of material properties?
Skylar, you want to take that?
Yeah, so we do generate, there is normal data generated from the geometry, but we're not getting like cross-polarized, separated RGB channels, things like that. But yeah, as you said, we've got diffuse textures and we have basic normals. To that point, I think like there is some lighting relighting capability in Game Engine and in like Blender, new things like that. But we do recommend that if your creative has a very stylized, a really specific lighting look, that we try and get close to that in production, so in capture, because ultimately, like if you're making a sunset scene that's like in the jungle, super stylized with like a red sun setting, you really want to get that effect with the final asset, and not have to worry about like any kind of texture jumping that the asset, that might be visible in the asset throughout a capture sequence. So, yeah.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes until our next session, so let's get one final question in. And also, because our friends at Metastage are on the West Coast, maybe some of them or all of them will be able to join us at 6 o'clock for our champagne and caviar party in the atrium, and also a super meet with all of our speakers today. But any last questions?
Just how heavy is a typical uncompressed model for like a 10-second animation?
That's a good question. Adam, do you know what uncompressed the sizes would look like?
I can just jump in while if Adam's become disconnected. So yeah, basically, I don't know. I think I realize I might have missed this in my discussion of the processing pipeline, but we deliver an encoded format in MP4 format, which is the compressed version of the OBJ and PNG sequences. But we also deliver those sequences to you if you want to, use that instead of game engine plugins. So as I said, we shoot at 30 frames per second, and each one of those frames has its own OBJ and PNG texture attached to it. So we send you that sequence, and then on top of that, we'll send you the encoded MP4. And as far as file sizes, I do need. Let's see, Adam.
Well, I was going to say we capture at 10 gigabytes of raw data per second, and we compress down to 10 megabits per second. So, I think when we published one of our recent songs, it was a 3.5 minute, and this is compressed, but it was a 3.5 minute experience, and I think it came out to about 700 megabytes for the 3.5 minutes. So,
right, and that includes audio as well.
Yes. Now we don't typically do. I mean, I guess the OBJs would be the uncompressed assets, and I'm not actually sure quite how big they'd be if you were to take that same 3.5 minutes and plug it into a project, but significantly bigger. Cool. Well, is there any other questions? It looks like we might have a couple more minutes left.
There's a million questions to ask Metastage. I can assure you all that the story is amazing and it changes every day. I get to hang out with Christina a lot in LA, and it's such an exciting company, and what you're pulling off is truly miraculous when you ever stop to look. But definitely don't stop to look yet, because I know you guys are going to keep iterating on what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Karam. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to basically help other people make their ideas come into fruition. I don't pretend that Metastage necessarily knows all of the best applications for this tech even, but I do know that the people who do are out there and conceiving projects right now, and so it's just it's really fun to be able to come to work every day and talk with innovators and creators about what they're trying to do, and then when we get to see the projects on the other side, it's just it's a privilege, and we don't take it for granted. I think we often look at each other and say, like, we have a really weird and fun job, as I'm watching somebody in medieval gear stomping around the stage, or some emo musician out just singing their heart out in the middle of the stage. It's a truly fun job, and I really like that we get to deal with real people, and I think that that's really volumetric's place in this ecosystem. As we move into spatialized computing and as we move more into 3D technology, volumetric is the way to bring real people, real performances, and the magic of humanity into those worlds. So anyway, we're really lucky and really grateful that you came to our talk today. So feel free to shoot us an email or follow us on social media if you want to stay connected and if you've got any questions. And then, we'll definitely try to make the champagne and caviar at 3 p.m. Since I thought for some reason that's when we were talking anyway because of the time difference. We'll just change our calendars and head in there at 3 p.m. and we can talk one-on-one if you'd like.
So thank you again one more time. We love you and thank you for being here.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much.